Hello and welcome back. Hey, today we're going to be doing part two of turning your emails into actionable notes. We're going to do part two, and today is on reporting. So you can see the video. If you just search for this right here in Google on YouTube, you're going to find this video. So let's go ahead and jump into the next video here. And today what we're going to talk about is creating reports. And we're going to primarily spend most of our time here inside of Power Automate. And we're going to walk you through this step by step using the screen over here on our right to keep us on track and a reference point for you so that if you miss something, you can pause the video and reference it over on your right. So stay tuned. This is going to be good. Thanks. Hold on. So let's go ahead and get started here. Remember here in part one, we went over how to capture, create the list, and then the automation to create the email, to turn the email with an HM2 inside the subject line. We talked about that, how to turn it into the list. Now we have the list and we need to produce the report. So the first thing we need to do, we've added this as a manual trigger. Now remember, when we go in here to create inside of Power Automate, we go to Instant Cloud Flow. That's what we're talking about here. Why instant? Because this is a utility. We're printing a report. Now, we could trigger this to be a scheduled cloud flow where every week it would send all of the latest information and emails in a report. We could do lots of things, get very creative. We could send it to specific people with specific filters. All that, I'm going to get into that in a minute. But we're not doing that. We're just doing a manual trigger. Okay, nothing to do on this. Get items is the next thing you add. Remember, you go here, click on Get Items. And here's where we have our settings right here. So Get Items, we're going to go to whatever our list is, and we're going to go to the list name. So here's the site, and here's the list name. And then we're going to show all and do right here, top count of 1,000. Okay, so that's it. Now, if you wanted to do filtering, notice here you have filter and order by. You could do all of that as well. We don't go into that in this video, but certainly a possibility. All right, so that's that step. Next step we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. Now, what this variable is it allows us to store information from, and you're going to see here where we store it when we append the variable in just 2 steps. But we're going to actually store information into this variable right here in this append action, which is going to be used to produce the final report. Okay, so create this, pretty easy. Just give it a name and this type that you want right here, number 3, you want string type. And remember, this is what you're going to look for when you click on here. So you're going to go here, right? And this is the way it is with all of these nodes, by the way. Initialize variable right there. Okay. Next step, we're cruising. You want to do an apply to each. So I know that this is inside of here, but let me show you what that looks like. If you do apply to each here, it's going to give you a loop. And you don't even have to spell it right? My fingers don't quite work the way they used to, but here, apply to each. Now, when you get this apply to each, this is where you're going to click to add the append. You're not going to add it here. You're going to add it here. And you can add an action, and then you can say append. Okay? So append to a string variable. That's the one we're using. So we're going to get rid of this, but I just wanted to show you that's the apply to each. And we're going to go over that in a little more detail here in just a second. All righty. Let's delete that. Good. Okay, now we're in this apply to each. Let's click on the apply to each loop. And what we're looking for, remember this will be blank, but you'll click on here. And you're pulling information from the get items. Remember here, we got all of the information from the SharePoint list right here. So that's what we're pulling from. Notice we see the SharePoint list, the get items, we're pulling from the bottom. Easy peasy, right? That's for the get items. So that means basically inside of this loop, everything that's happening now, when we click on this plus sign to add an action, like this append to string variable, everything that happens is going to go based on the data found within this value right here, which happens to be the body of the email message. Okay. Here we're going to say append to string. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually, remember we initialize this variable. Now we're going to add data to the variable. And so where are we here? So we did this, and then here we are right here. Okay, so here we're calling out the subject, the body, and the created. So this is really pulling from all of those items. If we wanted to add a new item, for example here, this is pretty simple HTML code. I would suggest just copying it. I'll try to remember to put it in the comments for you, but it's pretty easy. It's not many lines. And then here, we click on here, and then we add these values right here. See, subject is there, title. So if we wanted to put, I don't know, subject again, we would click like that, and it would add it. Okay. So that's the information that we've added there. Okay. And next thing, and the last thing we need to do is send this as an email. So let's go ahead and send this as an email. So we're going to put in the email address, and we just start typing right there. It's pretty simple. Give it a subject name, and then we're going to add the output. Now remember, the output here happens to be from that variable that we created here, right? So we initialize the variable from, so we initialize the variable, we got the items from the SharePoint list, and then we append the variable, meaning that we add data to that variable. And that's what we're seeing right here. So to add that, we're just going to add the variable. We're not going to add information directly from the email because we've collected it inside of the variable. So we want to make sure we do that. Okay. And then here, there isn't much to do. We can hit show all. There's nothing really. You can do a from, send out. You can do a CC, for example, or a BCC. So if you wanted this report to go to different places, you can also set the sensitivity of the email. You can hit a reply to email address as well, and you can do the importance of the email. So and you can also send as or on behalf of someone else. So there's lots of cool little features you can add to this very simple send email v2 connector or action. You can also put in additional information here. So I can type in text here and say something like that, do that. I can do lots of different things and get very creative on the way I want to do that. But I don't want to do that. And that's it. And so once you do that, you prepare the email, and then the email will look like this. Will look like this. Notice it's formatted. It's got a space. It's got the created on. It's very nice. So that's the way you do that. So good luck. Again, this is 2 parts. This is the second part on reporting, creating a report from information on a list. Good luck.